Okay, so you want to like finally conquer this whole study laziness thing, right?
Yeah, it's a big one.
It is a big one. Everyone struggles with it at some point.
For sure.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely have. So it looks like you sent us like some really good strategies for overcoming procrastination and really getting yourself more motivated to study. So we're going to kind of like dive into all that stuff.
Yeah, let's do a deep dive.
And figure out what's going to work best for you.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting is like we always think of laziness as this like personal failing, like, oh, I just don't have enough willpower.
Okay.
But it's often more about feeling overwhelmed or feeling uninspired. So hopefully some of these tips that we talk about today can address that.
Totally. And you know what? I think one of the best ways to like not get overwhelmed is to have a plan.
Absolutely.
And that kind of leads us into the first couple points that you pulled out from your research.
Yep.
Setting clear goals. And then making a study schedule.
Yes,
right.
Super important.
Yeah, so like actually breaking things down, making to-do lists.
Yes.
All that good stuff.
Absolutely.
I will say, I used to be a terrible procrastinator.
Really?
Especially in college. But I started using something called the Pomodoro Technique.
I love the Pomodoro Technique.
Have you heard of this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so like...
It's a classic.
It's a classic, yeah. And it really helped me. So I was working on this like massive research paper.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt so stuck. I was just like staring at my computer screen and I was like, I don't even know where to start. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try this Pomodoro thing.
Yeah.
So I set a timer for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, I am just going to do research for 25 minutes and then I'll take a break.
Yeah.
And just like focusing on a tiny little section of the paper at a time, it actually like...
Totally.
It felt way more manageable. And before I knew it, I was actually like making progress.
That's so great.
Without feeling totally overwhelmed.
Yeah. And I think that's why structure is just so important. It's not even just about like being organized. It's about easing that anxiety that you were talking about.
Surely.
Like, I think, you know, if you can kind of think of it as setting those micro goals.
Yeah.
And then like each little thing that you check off your list is like a little victory.
It's a win.
And then you start to build momentum and
Yeah.
you start to like prove to yourself that you can actually do this.
You got this.
Yeah.
But you know what? No matter how much you plan and how organized you are,
Yeah.
there are always going to be distractions.
Oh my gosh, yes. Especially in our world today.
Oh, especially like our phones.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's like the ultimate siren song
It is.
calling you away from your work.
Yeah. And actually one of the things that, we saw in your research was this whole idea of like minimizing distractions,
Yes.
which I think is like
Super key.
super key. Yeah. Like how do we even begin to do that?
Well, I think it's helpful to like actually understand the science of distraction a little bit. So like every time you hear a ping or a notification on your phone, it's like literally jolting your brain out of that flow state.
Right.
And it takes way longer than you think to actually get back on track.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So one super practical tip I have, and this has been a game changer for me, is like using one of those notification blocking apps during your study time.
Oh, that's good.
Like literally just like turn everything off for like an hour.
Silence the world.
And it's amazing what dedicated focus can actually do.
Yeah. But sometimes even if you like get rid of all the distractions,
Right.
getting started is like the hardest part.
Oh, it's so true.
You know, and one of the things that I think you pulled out from the research was this idea of tackling the easier tasks first,
Yes.
which I actually really like.
It's a good one.
It's like warming up before a workout, you know?
Totally.
Just got to get those mental gears turning.
Yeah, and there's actually like a psychological principle behind this called the Zeigarnik effect.
Ooh, tell me more.
So basically, unfinished tasks, they like stick in our minds. They like bug us.
Really?
Like until we finish them. So if you can like just start even a tiny little piece of something challenging,
Yeah.
your brain is way more likely to be like, hey, go back and finish that.
That can nag you.
It's going to nag you. Exactly. And I've even used this with like writing.
Yeah.
Like if I'm really struggling to start an article, I'll just write like the introduction or even like just the first sentence.
Just get something down.
Just get something down. And it's amazing how that like small step can unlock the rest of the task.
It's like a little trick.
It is a little trick.
I like it.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, we can't forget about the importance of like rewarding yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Celebration.
A little celebration every
Right.
time you hit a milestone or you finish a task.
For sure.
But I think like one of the things that really, you know, we need to talk about is like that long-term motivation.
Yes.
Right? Like how do you stay motivated?
Yeah. How do you keep the fire lit?
Exactly. And one of the things that really stood out to me from what you sent over was this whole idea of like connecting your studies to your personal goals.
Yeah, I think that's huge.
Right.
It's about tapping into what we call intrinsic motivation.
Okay.
So it's not just about like getting a good grade.
Right.
It's about what this knowledge actually gives you.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. What's your dream job?
Yeah.
What's that one skill you're like dying to master?
Right.
How does what you're studying right now get you closer to those things?
I love that. So it's really about like seeing the bigger picture.
Totally.
And like find that personal connection.
Yeah.
To what you're learning. But, I think it's important to remember that like there's no one size fits all solution here.
Oh, absolutely not.
Right.
Everyone's different.
Everyone is different.
And one of the things that we saw in your research was this idea that, you're going to have to try different things.
Oh, for sure.
Tweak things, figure out what works best for you.
Yeah.
It's a process.
It's all about experimenting.
Exactly.
And you know what? It's also about like figuring out like what works best for you personally.
Yes. 100%. It's about self-awareness.
Yeah.
Like paying attention to what actually helps you focus, what helps you learn, what helps you retain information.
Yeah.
Some people thrive on like super strict routines.
Right.
Other people need a little bit more flexibility.
Totally.
So it's about figuring out like where you fall on that spectrum. And it's not like a one-time thing.
Right.
It's a process of continually checking in with yourself and being like, okay, is this still working for me or do I need to adjust something?
Yeah. It's like a journey.
It is a journey.
It is. And I think if we connect this to like the even bigger picture.
Yeah.
What we're really talking about is like building a sustainable relationship with learning.
I love that. Like learning shouldn't be this like chore or this like awful thing that you have to dread.
Yeah.
It should be something that you're excited about.
It can be fun.
Yeah, it can be fun. It can be joyful.
Yeah.
It's a journey of discovery and you're the explorer.
You are the explorer. So like, what does this all mean for you?
Right.
Like we've given you a toolbox full of strategies.
The whole toolbox.
Pick one, pick two.
Trying them out.
Experiment. You might be surprised at how much more enjoyable and how much more effective learning can be when you're the one in the driver's seat.
That's the key.
Yeah, you got this.
You do.